Started with a lantern and a midnight ride. They signed that paper
up here?
with a sense of pride. Froze at Valley Forge, bled at Gettysburg too. Brother against brother, wearing gray and blue. From the mud of the trenches to the moon in the sky, we've been through the lows and we've seen the highs. It started as a dream with men standing tall. All these years later, and we never did fall. The red, white, and blue, what a beautiful sight. The light of the world in the middle of the night. The heartbeat is steady, though the road has been long. The U.S. of A. is 250 and strong. It's 250 and strong. The boys hit the beaches in the wind and the rain. We built the steel towers and raised golden grain. We walked through the fire of many dark days, but found our way home through the smoke and the haze. It's a long, dusty road from the Liberty Bell, but we got a story that we're proud to tell. It started as a dream with men standing tall. All these years later, and we never did fall. The red, white, and blue, what a beautiful sight. The light of the world in the middle of the night. The heartbeat is steady, though the road has been long. The U.S. of A. is 250 and strong. 250 and strong. It started as a dream with men standing tall. All these years later, and we never did fall. The red, white, and blue, what a beautiful sight. The light of the world in the middle of the night. The heartbeat is steady, though the road has been long. The U.S. of A. is 250 and still going strong. Still going strong. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. 250 and strong.
So I'm going to do only two. I got this one. It's going to be 12. So this will be only the two opening videos.
The ordinary is set apart, made holy by his presence. Moses stood before a burning bush and was told to take off his sandals. This is holy ground. Joshua stood on the edge of the promised land and was told, every step you take, I have already given. So before you move any closer, devil, hear this loud and clear. This is not just a house. This is not just walls and a roof. This is ground God has given. Every step, every room, every doorway is marked by God's presence. Sanctified, set apart. The enemy does not belong here. Darkness has no claim here. Because when God gives ground, he defends it. Every step I take in this place has already been claimed by heaven. So let this be known in the spirit. This house is not open to darkness. Fear, you are not permitted. Enemy, you have no access. Because what God has given, he guards. And I will enforce what he declared. This ground is holy. Every room is covered in your presence. Every wall is marked by your blood. What was ordinary is now consecrated. No shadow gets permission here. No darkness survives in my home. No demon can take a seat. From the ceiling to the floor, I take control in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. What God marked cannot be stolen. What God blessed cannot be cursed. This house is not common ground anymore. My home belongs to the Lord. You gave this ground. You placed me here. So I will stand in your authority, Lord. The Holy Spirit dwells in here. I draw a permanent boundary line with your holy fire. No enemy has the right to come near me or my family. No matter the circumstance, my house stands secure, for it is filled with your presence. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I pray. No fear can enter, no power of darkness can stay, no shadow can survive. Every door is covered, every window is sealed. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I declare this ground is holy. I hear the enemy knocking, but he cannot cross the line. There's a boundary drawn in heaven, and it's backed by the divine. There's a name he can't defy. Every step within these walls has been claimed by the Most High. What you've given, you defend. This is ground that's been surrendered fully to your power. I won't back down. I won't retreat. This authority is complete. I draw a permanent boundary line with your holy fire. No enemy has the right to come near me or my family. No matter the circumstance, my house stands secure, for it is filled with your presence. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I pray. No fear can enter, no power of darkness can stay, no shadow can survive. Every doorway is covered, every window is sealed. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I declare this ground is holy. The enemy cannot enter. You have no key. You have no place. This house is covered in authority. You have no right. You have no claim. You have no voice. Every spirit bows in Jesus' name. This ground belongs to the Lord of hosts. Take your lies. Take your fear out of this house, out of this space. Every spirit, leave this place. You are not welcome here. Take your chains, take your voice. Out of these rooms, out of these walls, only the presence of God remains. This house is now holy ground. I draw a permanent boundary line with your holy fire. No enemy
Okay, we got about 6 minutes.
has the right to come near me or my family. No matter the circumstance, my house stands secure, for it is filled with your presence. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I pray. No fear can enter, no power of darkness can stay, no shadow can survive. Every door is covered, every window is sealed. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I declare. This ground is holy.
This is I only played one in this one.
Every place my foot has stepped,
12 minutes, so
He is given.
like 4 minutes left.
Where He is present, darkness cannot remain. So I stand in this house without fear, because what God has claimed, He protects. And I declare, this ground is holy.
About 5 minutes.
That's the sound of an American oil company hard at work. Want to be a part of it? Listen up.
Hello, my name is.
When God speaks, the ordinary is set apart, made holy by His presence. Moses stood before a burning bush and was told to take off his sandals. This is holy ground. Joshua stood on the edge of the promised land and was told, every step you take, I have already given. So before you move any closer, devil, hear this loud and clear. This is not just a house. This is not just walls and a roof. This is ground God has given. Every step, every room, every doorway is marked by God's presence. Sanctified, set apart. The enemy does not belong here. Darkness has no claim here, because when God gives ground, He defends it. Every step I take in this place has already been claimed by heaven. So let this be known in the spirit. This house is not open to darkness. Fear, you are not permitted. Enemy, you have no access, because what God has given, He guards. And I will enforce what He declared. This ground is holy. Every room is covered in your presence. Every wall is marked by your blood. What was ordinary is now consecrated. No shadow gets permission here. No darkness survives in my home. No demon can take a seat. From the ceiling to the floor, I take control. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I pray. No fear can enter, no power of darkness can stay, no shadow can survive. Every doorway is covered, every window is sealed. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I declare this ground is holy. I hear the enemy knocking, but he cannot cross the line. There's a boundary drawn in heaven, and it's backed by the divine. There's a name he can't defy. Every step within these walls has been claimed by the Most High. What you've given, you defend. This is ground that's been surrendered fully to your power. I won't back down, I won't retreat. This authority is complete. Oh, No matter the circumstance, my house stands secure, for it is filled with your presence. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I pray no fear can enter, no power of darkness can stay, no shadow can survive. Every doorway is covered, every window is sealed. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I declare this ground is holy. The enemy must hear this loud and clear. You cannot enter. You have no key. You have no place. This house is covered in authority. You have no right. You have no claim. You have no voice. Every spirit bows at Jesus' name. This ground belongs to the Lord of hosts. Take your lies, take your fear out of this house, out of this space. Every spirit, leave this place. You are not welcome here. Take your chains, take your voice out of these rooms, out of these walls. Only the presence of God remains. This house is now holy ground. I draw a permanent boundary line with your holy fire. No enemy has the right to come near me or my family. No matter the circumstance, my house stands secure, for it is filled with your presence. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I pray no fear can enter. No power of darkness can stay, no shadow can survive. Every doorway is covered, every window is sealed. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I declare this ground is holy. Every place my foot has stepped, He is given. Where He is present, darkness cannot remain. So I stand in this house without fear, because what God has claimed, He protects. And I declare this ground is holy.
Okay, I cut it a little short. Trying to save some time. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I don't know where everybody's at. Lucy's the only one in chat right now. I want to get a lot out. So I'm gonna do shorts right now. Catch up on the short ones.
This Saturday, a sad update that's coming there from former President Joe Biden. Putting this up on your screen as we have a live look at the White House. But this just coming in a short time ago that former U.S. President Joe Biden's prostate cancer has now spread to other parts of his body and is causing him pain even as he continues to speak on public issues, according to his son, Hunter Biden. That information came from an interview that Hunter Biden did with BBC broadcast late on Friday. Hunter Biden grew emotional as he discussed his father's condition, describing it as very sad to watch. Joe Biden, of course, is 83 years old. He was the oldest man to serve as U.S. president, and his age was a source of concern for many throughout his 4 years in office. He and his White House advisors have faced intense criticism for allegedly concealing the extent of his problems, especially after he was forced to abandon his bid for re-election after a disastrous debate with his eventual successor, Donald Trump. Once again, though, we did hear a little bit more from Hunter Biden, who said that the diagnosis has now been tough on the family. Hunter went on to say that it's really sad to watch. The only thing I'd say about my dad, about his health right now, is that I wish he would complain more because it's not good. The former president, though, did reveal his cancer diagnosis in May of last year, less than 4 months after he left the White House. But again, we're continuing to keep you updated with the latest information. But this all coming from former U.S. President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, in an interview now revealing that Joe Biden's prostate cancer has spread to other parts of his body and is causing him pain. I do want to put this up on the screen. We also have this tweet in from Fox News, shedding a bit more light on this situation. We do know that Hunter has described Biden's condition as, quote, very painful and very debilitating, but again, says that his father is, quote, still doing his thing, and says that his father is still going to attend speaking engagements. The former president, again, revealed this aggressive prostate cancer diagnosis in May of 2025, just shortly after leaving the White House. And so we'll keep you updated here on Live Now from Fox as we learn.
Oh, that's breaking news. This was the other day.
To stand here before you and speak. Sorry, excuse me. I have a little mom brain going on right now. I'm so sorry. No, he's going to take off. Thank you. Thank you. Truly, thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be here today. Thank you so much for all that you've done enacting these policies that help our family and the families of millions of hardworking Americans. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've worked in the service industry for 15 years. When I first moved here to this beautiful city of Las Vegas, I had 3 jobs working for tips. Working for tips has been my livelihood, and policies like these are truly incredible. Yes, thank you, sir. Every dollar saved truly helps, Mr. President. Thank you. And it all goes to them. You know, they're truly my why, my kids. Every dollar counts with children, and we're so grateful for the ability to open the Trump accounts for ours. We're gifted the very generous contribution, the $1,000, and able to start the same for my son. And he did want to say a little something to you, Mr. President.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Hi, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you for my Trump account.
这是我上考。
Thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing, Mr. President. Thank you. It's truly an honor. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, honey. Take care of mom. Take care of mom, okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You're so nice.
Sounds good. I got another clip. Where is it?
To the unions. We don't all get tips, no. But we do work long hours, hard hours. 96 hours a week? Yeah, most of the times I'm not up on current affairs. I don't have a clue what's going on the planet. But I can tell you what's going on in Las Vegas. I can tell you where the shows are. I can tell you we fill the beds in this city. And we love every minute of it. And I thank you for allowing us to keep this money that we work so hard for. Yeah, I just gone through a divorce and given up everything, but the fact that I got so much back on my taxes, I still was able to buy a new house. Put her in one too.
That was good.
The polls were wrong again last night.
Yeah, we'll get to those here in a minute. Want to get the short ones in. Nine minutes from yesterday.
Oh, some of the things that get sent to me. Oh my goodness. First of all, everybody. I get bombarded on Telegram, Signal, Wire, WhatsApp, and my personal text messages, probably 100 messages daily. It's exhausting, and I do answer everybody, but it's a lot. So if you guys can be a little more respectful of my time, I mean, some of the questions I get asked are, can you explain how this whole thing started from the beginning? Well, that's a very long-winded thing to go back and explain it. And I don't have time to go write these long things out to everybody. I can't get my emojis to work. How come I can't do emojis? Okay, I'm not in charge of emojis. I sent my project in to somebody, I don't even know who they are. Why haven't I heard back from them? I don't know. I don't know who this person is. I don't know what you were doing. I don't know why people think to go message me, I'm going to have an answer for that. The crazy one, somebody messaged me, I like your name. My name on Telegram is @LadyOfLight. I like your name. I want it. Will you give it to me and you get a different one? And I'm like, no, that's very rude to ask. Well, it works better for me, so you should give it to me. I mean, seriously, what is wrong with people? I could go on and on and on about some of the stuff that people write me. I mean, some of it's disgusting and some is just flat out rude and appalling. Anyway, let's move on from that. There is major scammers going around saying to sign up for a QFS account. I have told you time and time again, do not, and I repeat, do not sign up for a QFS account. You will get one when you go to your appointment. Until then, do not sign up for a QFS account. Do not sign up for MedBed appointments on any site whatsoever. Don't. They're all scammers. They're just trying to get your information. So please, everybody, don't do that. And also, I will not personally contact you on Telegram, Signal, WhatsApp, any of these ways and ask you to sign up for a QFS account, ask you for money, ask you for med beds and pay me money for any of those. That's just crazy. I will not tell you to sign up for cryptocurrencies and to have your coins walk you through a procedure on how to put your coins into what I'm telling you to go put them into. Nope, not going to happen that way. So please, these are all scammers. All right, let's move on. Where are we? We are on a very slow rollout of this. There are still the powers that have been in charge are fighting tooth and nail to the end. They do not want this to go. Contrary to what everybody else is saying, who's saying it's happening today, tomorrow, Thursday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it's not. We're still not there. We're still stuck on tier 1. We're moving a little, but it's just not all gone yet. So I don't know where these other people come up with the stuff that is happening, but we're not there yet. And people get mad at me because I say that and I'm not jumping up and down saying it's happening. It will happen, but we're not there yet. So we have to wait patiently. The best advice I can give you all right now is, how are you going to survive till this happens? What can you do? Because everybody needs money. Everybody is hanging by a thread. What will you do? How will you survive? You've got to come up with different plans and not have the RV be your end-all answer to that, because we don't know when it's going to happen. There still is a battle going on behind the scenes. So in the meantime, you need to figure out, how are you going to survive and get through till this happens? That's not what you want to hear. I know. I want it done. I'm tired of this. It's been a very long journey for me, but I'm doing everything in my power to make it and survive till the end of this. So that is the best advice I can give you. Don't wait every day for this RV to be your answer. Figure out something now to do to survive till it is the answer. Don't make it your answer, because so many people have hurt themselves waiting for this and not doing what they need to do in the here and now. So if you didn't know about the RV, what would you be doing? How would you make it? How would you survive? That is my best advice. It's never been with the RV an if, it's always been a when. And it is a battle. There are forces that do not want this to go. They're giving up their power. They don't want to give up power. They don't want to give up control. They have had control and power for eons, and they're fighting tooth and nail. So do what you need to do to make it to the end. And also the digital media is another one that it's a battlefield out there with all the information out there. Be careful what you're reading, what you're hanging on to from what people are saying. Really work on your emotional stability of this and just try to stay emotionally stable.
Yeah, that's about. I stopped it at 7. She wasn't saying too much. She was actually repeating herself twice. That was kind of weird, saying it twice. All right, we are going to do this one. It's an old tape, 2:36 on the time.
Cannot, will not, and
Really old tape.
No matter what decisions or possibilities are injected into the equation, eventually it all resolves down to us all learning the truth.
Where's
and becoming aware of
Lucy, did you get
this massive dam of lies that has been built that keep us from knowing massive volume of information that we should otherwise possess. Happened was people, very smart people, began to figure out that something big was coming up. Something that made it so all the possibilities of all the future scenarios of any choice, any possibility that was fed in and observed through the looking glass inherently ended up in the same future. And no decision, no possibility changed past a certain point. That's the big secret.
Okay, so is that certain point 2012 in your understanding?
It well coincides with December 21st, 2012.
So at that point, all possibilities lead to the same
Timelines.
Rubicon.
All possible timelines lead to this. The loser can only prolong the game. The game, both players know the game is over. It's only a matter of time before he does this, and then you're forced to do this, and then he's forced to do this, and eventually checkmate. We, as a race, if we could understand that the game is over, that based on the rules of the game, the bad guys have already lost, the good guys have already won. Yes, there's moves left on the table, but those moves are being forced by the player that is going to win.
That was an old one. I don't know where everybody at chat is tonight. Okay, let's just. 4 minutes.
Gulf of Oman, a special ops warplane catches something on its infrared sensor. You can see it, that little white dot darting back and forth. The report calls them cold orbs, 4 feet across. No one's been able to explain it since. Then over a town in the Middle East last year, a sensor catches something transiting clean across the flame. Still, no idea what it was. Here's another, this one from 2023. Central Command sensors watching the sky, and then blink and you miss it. The thing rips across the whole frame in about 3 seconds, and it's gone. Then it gets closer. That's one of our own ships down on the water. Watch right the corner. Something crosses right past it. Our sensor locks on and scrambles to keep up. Still, nobody can say what it is. This isn't new. It goes back decades. The files prove it. In 1964, off Puerto Rico, a Navy pilot spots something the size of a fighter jet. His radar clocked it at 4,300 miles an hour, holding for 21 minutes. The CIA ruled out every plane we had, and nothing since comes even close. And when there's no footage, the FBI draws it straight from the people who saw it. June 2002, over Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan, a service member watches the stars start blinking out. Something huge passing overhead, west to east, a perfect triangle, 500 feet across, deadly silent, steady speed, not a single light on it. The guy next to him saw it too. He turned and said, "Did you see that?" 2011, 2 more service members, another sighting. Where it happened, the government still won't say. 2023, now it's over an American backyard. A former defense employee on his porch, on a silent triangle, drops as low as 300 feet. No wings, no engine, no rumble. He said if it hadn't been a clear night, he never would have caught it. Gone in 4 seconds. Same city, same year, another witness, another black triangle. This one's pixelated, kind of distorted with a red light burning in each 3 of the corners. Whatever these are, they keep showing up where they absolutely shouldn't.
We've had repeated instances of something operating in the airspace over restricted nuclear facilities, and it's not ours, and we don't know whose it is. That alone, just that statement alone, deserves inquiry, deserves attention.
Rubio and I are aligned 100%. We do not find it acceptable to have unknown aerial phenomenon.
It's just not an issue, at least as of yet, in this country that lends itself to some sort of partisan or ideological divide.
But the wildest one isn't even from this century. 1963, Brazil. A metal sphere crashes down in a small town, blasting a hole 13 feet deep. Thick glass windows, big enough they figured someone was flying it. There was supposedly a body inside, a dead crewman in a heavy suit marked with symbols nobody could read. Wild enough that our embassy fired off a cable to Washington, and State and Pentagon and NASA all started chasing it for 6 days. They never found the sphere, never found a body, never found a witness. One local newspaper ran it under the headline, "The Airship That Wasn't There." Strange. And that's just one dump. There's plenty more where that came from. Experts say it shows in few inside the government are the gatekeepers guarding what's really been found and what they know. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
Chico. Okay,
An out of this world release from the Pentagon.
We'll get you the big videos now. I don't know where everybody's at tonight in chat. So I'm gonna get Billy in and then do Holly and will you settle down?
Some of the things we'll cover. Sunspots. President Trump wins. Cuba murders a CIA agent. And China hunts Chinese American citizens. The IRGC overrules the Iran government. So let's get started. We have this from Max Afterburner that the IRGC proclaims that they are not a part of the ongoing talks between Iran and Oman to control the Strait of Hormuz. And today, Saturday, Iran has hit several locations. So that's going on. The IRGC publicly says it is not a part of the Iran government, and nothing the Iran government says or signs applies to the IRGC. We have this from NASA NOAA regarding the sun, that the sunspots are disintegrating. So that's going on. And we have this, we have several earthquakes today in Sakania, Alaska. We had a 5.6 at a depth of 10 kilometers or 6 miles. We had 2 earthquakes seconds apart in Utah with a 4.0 in Teasdale and a 2.9 near Sarasota, as reported by Mary Greeley. So that's going on. And we see President Trump wins. The Senate in one vote confirmed 74 President Trump's nominees, including Todd Blanche as the AG. So that's going on. And we have this from George Galloway, that the Middle East is, it's believed, is also suffering, as is Europe, in terms of energy and loss of availability of drinking water. And that in the Middle East, most of this is due to strikes by the IRGC. But we also see in Europe, as we're seeing in the U.S., Lake Mead in California is virtually dried up. That'll take down the availability of drinking water for several states, including North California, Colorado, and New Mexico. In Europe, they're having the same problem with both water facilities and also power. As the water levels drop, there is not enough water to be taken into European nuclear power plants for cooling and producing electricity. So that's going on. We are seeing in several areas global drought. We have this from Canadian Prepper. He's talking about the Schiller graph, an economic graph showing falls and rises in the U.S. debt to GDP ratio, remarking that while it's still up, that it certainly could be coming down with new events in the Middle East impacting the availability of sour crude to the U.S. and thus giving us higher gasoline prices. So that's going on. And we're hearing also that Russia has been given new sanctions by the U.S. The current bill currently going through the Congress would put 100% tariffs on Russia and any nations buying oil from Russia, including China. So that's going on. And we still have between Iran and Oman talks about controlling the Strait of Hormuz and charging a 7% to 20% value of the cargo. But we have today the IRGC publicly stating that it is not a part of these talks and will not be governed by these talks. So that's going on. As I've said before, I believe the only way to deal with the IRGC is to neutralize them. We have this from President Trump. He is moving to give the U.S. military a pay raise, and I think they deserve it. We have this from Times of India, that Ukraine has hit another NATO ship out of Turkey in the Black Sea. The ship just turned around and went back to Istanbul, Turkey. So evidently Ukraine is now firing on ships coming out of Turkey, not in Ukraine's territorial waters. So that's going on. And the ship was on fire. The Turkish ship hit by Ukraine was on fire. It's a cargo ship named Galat. And also, we are hearing 2 other Turkish ships have been hit this week by Ukraine. And Turkey is a member of NATO. We have this from U.S. Intel. So today, about last night, about 8:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Ukraine hit another ship, which created an oil spill that was responded to by ADNOC, Abu Dhabi, UAE National Oil Company. And we have this, that from American thought leaders, Epoch Times, comes this information that China has put out a new law that China believes it can prosecute against Chinese citizens of other countries, including America, by saying that these Chinese, in the case of America, a Chinese American citizen who is a citizen of the U.S., can be prosecuted for laws that China puts on its books through Interpol. As soon as the Chinese American citizen goes to a country with which China has extradition rules, that Chinese American citizen can then be extradited to China to stand trial. There's 2 laws. The new law from China is called ethnic unity, and it also then flows into a second Chinese law forbidding separatism and forbidding any support for Taiwan as being separate from China. The new ethnic unity law, and China has tens of different ethnicities inside China, Tibet, the Uyghurs, and so on, who speak their own language. Now China says it's illegal to speak any language other than Chinese, and also saying to these ethnicities, it's illegal for them to continue their own culture, art, traditions, and it's illegal for these ethnicity members to marry someone in their own ethnic group. Instead, they must marry a Chinese. So that's going on, and you cannot support Taiwan. So it'll be interesting to see if Interpol is going to cooperate with China in extraditing Chinese American citizens back to China. So that's going on. And we have this from U.S. Intel regarding Ukraine, that Ukraine is out of air defense. It has no Patriot missiles, and the U.S. is not sending any more to Ukraine. Excuse me. But the U.S. this week is supplying the Middle East Gulf states with 5,000 plus Patriot missiles. So that's going on. And we're hearing that now Russia, for the first time since 2023, has air superiority over Ukraine and has already taken down in Kiev 50% of the warehouses. So that's going on. And we are hearing this from Deep Dive, retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. Ukraine has been hitting civilian targets inside Russia. Amazon's farm in Russia called Wild Berries. Ukraine also hit near the Black Sea inside Russia a civilian beach, killing civilians, including children. So that's going on. And Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis has a source inside Kiev who says that the Ukraine people are very angry and they only want peace. And they are against what Zelensky is doing. So that's going on. And we're hearing this, that the CIA and the MI6 inside Ukraine are helping Ukraine with their drone manufacturing and targeting. And that also there have been events inside Ukraine hitting civilian citizens inside Russia's 4 regions: Luhansk, Donetsk, Kherson, and Zaporizhzhia. And we're hearing that 7 Ukraine drones hit inside Russia, killing civilians, including on a Russian civilian beach and a Russian girls' college. So that's going on. And we see Russia has closed the Ukraine port, Odessa, and that cities in Ukraine are now being hit very hard by Russia because Ukraine has no air defense. We have this from Real Raw News. July 28, the CIA picked up chatter inside Cuba that there would be a meeting between the Cuba government minister, Alvaro Manera, and high-level Cuba Army officers at a certain officer's house. So the CIA sent in a single agent, August 1, to put a listening device in this Cuba Army officer's house. He then disappeared. President Trump ordered the SEALs from Gitmo to go in to locate the CIA officer. The SEALs recovered his torso and decapitated head, and they were all extracted by a CH-53C Stallion. So we see Cuba murdered a U.S. CIA officer. This concludes my flash. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, now we're going to get you the big video for tonight, and then after we get done, I'm going to try to get about 20 short clips done. This is about the RV that they're talking about. I'll save the other ones for tomorrow.
to $1.20 per.
Hi, everybody. I am Holly Ciliano, and I have John Michael Chambers back. He's been a guest on this show before. So welcome, John. It's a pleasure to have you.
Nice to see you, Holly. Thank you. Good to be here again.
Thank you. So I know you interview a lot of guests from many different fields and genre of information. And from what you could tell this audience, what everybody wants to know, when are we going to really start to see something substantial happen? Because we hear a lot of talk of the EBS is going to happen, 10 Days of Darkness.
Yep.
We're going to have a great 4th of July. Everything's going to be done by 4th of July. We're now heading into June. So let's start off with that.
Sure. Well, thank you. I jotted down the key elements there because I'd like to address each one. You're right. You are on the pulse, Holly, of what the majority of, we'll call our movement, the various degrees of the awakened, and some of the target audience that's poking around right now. And a lot of them are. And thank you. We love you. Thank you for looking around. We're trying to help you. Here's the bottom line. This is, and again, the disclaimer, and you've really stated it already, from the guests that I interview, right? That's where I get my data from, folks. Don't look at me as the 107 guru of the movement. I produce content and shows, but I do interview, by and large, military, retired, of course, intelligence, and economic experts with credentials. Not all, but most of my guests, or certainly 75% or more of them. And it's from there I can answer your questions. Plus my own, that is my research. I do my research before I interview. Thus, I have data, and then I interview, and then I have more data. So I'd like to bring that clarity to your viewers with that as the disclaimer. We'll start with the EBS. The EBS, from my conclusion, and if anyone's interested in what my level of confidence is in my conclusion is, my level of confidence is as darn near close to a 10 as you can possibly get on a scale of 1 to 10. So having said that, the EBS conclusively, from all the military and intelligence people I speak with and the research I've done on my own, is it's going to happen. So let's start there. When? Well, the answer is who knows, but my answer is, again, based on the collective content I have, while some folks, even some of my high-powered guests that I love, and by the way, all of us, including Juan, we're not always right about every single thing, unless they get the direct memo from the very high places, from President Trump and in that space. We only know what we know, right? It's a fluid war. But having said that, yeah, there will be an EBS. Some folks say, again, people I have enormous respect for, that it'll happen on or before July 4th. I come to the conclusion that's not going to happen. And that's not to discredit any one guest. That's why the disclaimer is there. We're 95% accurate on things. About the EBS, for my conclusion is it is a foregone conclusion that we will have that, and that comes from retired generals, Lieutenant Colonels, Juan 07, and many, many others.
Is this an old one, you guys? I can't remember. I gotta check the date on this.
And of course, all the references from Q and so forth and so on. But the timing, I was stating that some folks think it will be in June or July. While it could be, I'm inclined to say it's not going to be, and especially after the meeting I just had with Juan 07 in Bangkok yesterday, face to face. We had a 9-hour marathon. Wow. We got up once to use the facilities, and the rest of it was a discussion leading into the morning for breakfast before I had to fly back to Chiang Mai. Juan's of the view that it's not going to occur on June or July. In fact, long after that, perhaps.
I just sent it to you, Kay, and it's August 7th. So that was yesterday.
Keyword. Perhaps later towards the fall, September, October, November is somewhere in that space. And he explained why. As far as arrests, people are, pardon me, folks, people are waiting for the big arrests and all the big activities. So am I. We all are. And let's differentiate. There's been a lot of arrests. I mean, look, just go to aliens.gov and just take a look at the illegal alien arrests and what's the word? Removing them from the country. But and there's been a lot going on. We've got Comey, of course, as a name. Juan and others feel Brennan would be next, and that makes all the sense in the world, and the rest of that clan to follow. It happens in military time. So in terms of the big arrests, my conclusion is we probably won't see anything bigger than Comey before July 4th. That's my walk away. Will it happen? Yes, big time. Everyone, no one gets away. They're all going down. When? When it happens. When? In my opinion, this year. All right, next is July 4th. Well, we kind of talked a bit about that date. What will the president be announcing? What will be his speech, et cetera, besides the fanfare of celebration? Well, we'll all wait and see. I don't know. But as far as the currency goes, there's another important discussion regarding June and July. Again, I have some guests that are pretty darn convinced, and it's okay, that we will have that Treasury-backed dollar that we've seen displayed, the March 26th release from the Treasury Department and so forth. Again, and I said this.
Okay, yeah, it's old, you guys. I remember all that. So sorry about that. Okay, I don't know if you can put that in chat, the channel link. But yeah, because that's weird how she puts it out yesterday. Yep, you're right on that one. Okay. I'm gonna do the Wire channel. I got some good ones. I got two of them I gotta play. So we'll get those in. I got a lot more good stuff. This is 24 minutes.
Can help us moving forward. Around the world, there have been significant developments and milestones reached regarding the various conflicts that we've been tracking for a while, namely Ukraine and Iran. The war in Europe has continued on, as always, with Russia and Ukraine slugging it out with long-range drones. These drone attacks have expanded to a new nation this week, Germany, with several drone incidents being reported a few days ago at a German airport. In the Middle East, the Iranians are working with the Omanis to establish the administrative structure for controlling the Strait of Hormuz. On the more kinetic front, several ships have been struck in the strait this week, all of which have been hit for trying to sneak in or out via the southern Omani corridor without Iranian permission. Down south in the Red Sea region, the Houthis have been conducting a few strikes of their own, striking Saudi forces within Yemen over in the areas controlled by the Yemeni government, which is backed by the Saudis. These strikes have been comparatively low level, but over 30 Saudi advisors, or probably ground troops, have been killed over the past week due to the Houthis striking the government-held terrain in the north and eastern regions of Yemen. Within the homeland this week, the situation has been pretty busy, with many different crises kicking off nationwide. First of all, these cyber attacks on water infrastructure have continued to spread, with the level of impact varying widely around the country. Some water districts were barely affected and there was no impact to customers, but other water administrators were taken completely offline and the water supply shut off due to the attacks. I would provide a map of all of the states affected, but interestingly enough, the FBI has not disclosed which specific states have been affected, but they did say that a total of 12 states have been impacted by cyber attacks on the water supply. However, some local utilities and local affiliate media stations have spilled the beans on some of the states, so we can extrapolate a partial list, which is as follows. Minnesota, Michigan, Georgia, South Dakota, New Jersey, and Wisconsin have all been host to cyber attacks targeting the water supply in at least one water district throughout those states. Minnesota was hit the hardest last week, as we know, so their situation is more public than the others, which vary widely. Some states have disclosed that they have had cyber attack attempts but not successful infiltrations, so ironically, the water has been muddied on this topic to the point that it's challenging to nail down exactly what has been affected. The methods of what the cyber attack entails have also not been disclosed, with the exception of Minnesota. In that state, the method for infiltration was via a vulnerability in programmable logic controllers, or PLCs. These devices are like little computers that are designed to manage various inputs and outputs in the industrial sector, such as water treatment facilities. Specifically, this is the device that has been compromised according to CISA, the Rockwell Automation Micrologix 1400 PLC. This device is used to monitor and control various switches and valves throughout a factory, and apparently had a vulnerability that was capitalized on by malign actors who were able to get into this device and change around a bunch of settings and mess with the levels of various fluids and chemicals at random water treatment facilities around the nation, pretty much whoever was running these devices at their plant. PLCs form the backbone of most SCADA, or supervisory control and data acquisition management systems, which is the general encompassing term for all of the buttons, switches, and sensors that monitor and automate most industrial facilities these days. Factories need computers to work, they need automation to work, and SCADA systems enable all of that. In the past, the general rule of thumb has been that most SCADA systems should be completely offline, not connected to the internet at all, and only connected to the operations center, the control room, or the IT department maybe for whatever factory or facility they're installed at. So it should be just a completely air-gapped system from the rest of the internet. But like I said last week, this logic has kind of gone out the window, and most SCADA systems at most companies around the United States are now connected to the internet in some form or fashion, and now we have major national security problems because of this. In the case of Minnesota, malign actors were able to get into the PLCs and lock the water treatment facility out of its own facility by changing the passwords. So they got into these little computers, changed the password, and they had free reign of the whole facility. So for those who might think that this is just a bit of an inconvenience, this is actually incredibly dangerous, and this is a major national security issue. Back in 2021, a hacker conducted a similar attack in a small Florida town, and instead of just shutting down operations like what happened in Minnesota a couple of days ago or last week, in the Florida case, the hacker was actually able to control the PLCs to add in more sodium hydroxide, or lye, to the water supply with the intent to poison the population of that water district. So that was a legitimate, deliberate terror attack. It did not get a lot of press at the time, but it was very, very important. And during the various incidents reported over the past 2 weeks, the feds have not stated what was actually done by the malign actors in this recent case of cyber attacks. So we don't know if this has happened again or what, but these attacks are continuing to affect various water districts. And in nearly all cases, county and city administrators are not immediately telling the populace that there is an issue until much later. As far as recommendations moving forward, since this is kind of a time-sensitive issue, at this juncture, it would be a very good idea for all citizens to examine their water security situation and really learn from this crisis to make sure that some level of preparedness is undertaken. Since it's been a couple of weeks since this crisis first began, and now we're finding out how serious this crisis actually has been over the past couple of weeks. We're finding this out after the fact, of course, but now that we know how serious the situation is, this is a good time to kind of look back, retroactively look and see what we could have done better on the individual level to kind of insulate ourselves from these problems. Water filters are a critical need in the sort of prepping world, but also having some level of water storage on hand is good, because the lesson learned with this particular crisis is that you can't really filter out chemicals from the water supply. I mean, you can on a small scale, but not really. And if a cyber attack takes place, which dumps a bunch of lye into the water, you can't really filter that back out. So even if you have water access, it might not be safe to drink. Generally speaking, FEMA recommends having 1 gallon of clean drinking water per person per day for a total of 3 days. I would recommend obviously more than that. The 1 gallon figure is just for all kinds of uses, including hygiene and things like that. So you can definitely stretch that out, but for a planning factor, 1 gallon is a good benchmark. This is a good baseline of preparedness, and you can kind of go from there. Water is hard to store long term, and most people don't really know how much water they actually need to survive. So this is something to iron out right now before a disaster strikes. And all the cases of water are gone from the store, which is exactly what happened in places like Minnesota and some of these other districts that got affected. Chances are, if you are watching this, you are probably a little bit more preparedness-minded than the average person. So I'm kind of preaching to the choir, I'm sure. This is more of a reminder for those of you out there who have more unprepared friends and family who don't really have any sort of preps at all. Just something to keep in mind, because with the cyber attack, you will never have any sort of advanced warning. One day you're going to be brushing your teeth and the water pressure is going to drop, and you're going to find out and later that the water is not coming back on for a few days. When it comes to how a cyber attack might manifest itself in the average person's daily life, that is the most likely scenario, and as such, it bears more preparation for. So clearly, we have shown that there are major infrastructure vulnerabilities. I and many others have been talking about this for years, and there have been efforts to harden our infrastructure against attacks like this, but clearly, it's not enough, right? So staying one step ahead of the bad guys is hard to do on a national level, so we have to do things at the individual level to make sure that we're insulated from the impacts of some of these disasters. So speaking of preparedness and readiness, another series of disasters has continued this week, the wildfires in the Pacific Northwest. Overall, the Pacific Northwest region has been host to a very active fire season this year, with Oregon reaching new records in terms of hectares burned, and Washington State experiencing many fires which have spread to urban areas. The most serious fires have struck the city of Spokane in eastern Washington, which has been categorized as the worst wildfire disaster in state history. 3 main fires were responsible for the initial evacuation of 67,000 people in the city limits of Spokane. As far as how many of those people actually left the area and actually evacuated, we don't really know, but the level 3 mandatory leave now evacuation areas included tens of thousands of people in the northwestern side of the city. Thank God no fatalities have been reported, which is a miracle on its own when this many people are directly affected by the wildfire, but there are tens of thousands of people either directly homeless now or impacted in some way and having to kind of cope with the situation. So this is going to be a long-term disaster situation. Right now, there are many shelters set up around the city for those displaced by the fire. The main go-to place, the main place where most people are being housed, is the Spokane Convention Center. That's where the main and primary Red Cross shelter is being set up, and they do accept pets at this location as well. This is the main place to go if you are affected by the fires, but there are some other options as well. Spokane Falls Community College served as an initial evacuation staging area, but I don't know if they're still active or not. They were listed as being an active shelter a few days ago, but I think they've transitioned a lot of their staff to the convention center as well to help plus up that staffing situation there. If you are in Stevens County, Jenkins High School has a Red Cross shelter added as well. And for the military service members that are affected, the Emergency Family Assistance Center is at Fairchild at the Red Morgan Center, so you can find resources there. If you are local to the area and looking to donate resources, here are some of the places you can directly donate to. Second Harvest Inland Northwest at 1234 East Front Avenue is a food bank that is accepting supplies, and they have mobile markets that have been kind of popping up around the city for both donations and also distribution of food bank supplies. Second Harvest has stated that they are also in need of non-perishable pet food and pet supplies. The same goes for pretty much all the other charities that are helping out with pets and animals that have been taken in from the disaster, such as the Spokane Humane Society and Spokanimal. Both of these agencies have also said they need pet food, blankets, and towels. If you want to donate supplies specifically to the firefighters and emergency personnel that are working the fire, go to Fire Station 16 at 5225 North Assembly Street. They are accepting donations at this station, which are being transported out to the fire line and the various spike bases further out from town. Of note, they already have enough food and water, so don't bother bringing that. But what they are in need of is hygiene supplies. They have not published a specific list, but things like baby wipes, foot powder, sunscreen, travel-sized toiletries, nice pairs of socks, electrolyte drink mixes, and prepackaged snacks are always good to donate no matter what. As with all disasters, do not donate any prepared food. Everything has to be sealed in its original packaging. Also, do not just drop off stuff randomly. Make sure that you are donating supplies to a designated drop-off area, as they are already having a hard time managing the surge of support that has materialized. As always, everyone is thankful for the support, but it would be best to make the logistics as easy to manage as possible. So definitely check to make sure the donation centers are accepting what you're dropping off and what their actual needs are, because their needs change by the day. For more up-to-date resources and up-to-the-minute updates, local mainstream media has been the most widespread source for coordinating all the various disaster aid efforts. There are a few groups that you can probably hit up most of these places on Facebook and check out their Facebook pages for all these agencies and entities that I mentioned today. They put out a lot of information on Facebook still, and local sources on the ground will be more quick to respond to what their needs are, so please check with those local sources, which will have the most up-to-date information. After the fires die down over the next few days and weeks, the situation is going to transition into more of a long-term disaster recovery effort, and it's going to take some time to rebuild the over 900 structures which have been destroyed by the fires in just the Spokane suburbs alone. So certainly keep everyone in your prayers long after the disaster leaves the headlines, and I will try to offer updates on the crisis wherever I can. Staying in the same region, but switching gears very significantly, another crisis emerged this week over in Idaho, which involved the active shooter incident at the In-N-Out in Twin Falls. The Twin Falls Police Department released a roll-up product compiling all of the security camera footage of the incident, establishing the timeline for how the shooting transpired. I will provide the direct link to the primary source for the video so that anyone interested can review this incident if you wish. I highly recommend it if you're interested in trying to learn more and how to do better for next time, because this is actually a pretty good product. Twin Falls PD actually did a really good job putting this product out, so very much appreciate their effort on that. The full video is actually over 9 minutes long, so it's too long for us to walk through together right now. I can do a more thorough breakdown of the lessons learned from this incident if there's demand for it, but today I just wanted to cover the highlights because this shooting is highly documented, and a total of 5 different citizens responded and intervened to stop the shooter in some way. Just as a brief wavetop recap, one shooter began the attack by murdering the employee at the drive-thru window of the restaurant, the In-N-Out in Twin Falls, and from there began engaging citizens at random throughout the local area. Throughout the incident, many citizens stepped up and did what they could, either to stop the shooter or to render aid to those who were wounded. One former state trooper who was in the drive-thru line responded first and was immediately wounded in the arm and taken out of the fight. After the first series of shots were fired, an off-duty officer inside the restaurant cleared the building and covered the evacuation of staff from the kitchen. After this, a woman who was in the drive-thru line tried to escape the area and in the process found the shooter's discarded handgun and tried to use it against the shooter, but as it was jammed, this was ineffective. A fourth responder, the mysterious stranger who has been identified as Jordan Salinas, was one of the first to get rounds on target and engage the shooter with an extremely unique handgun choice of a suppressed 5.7, an engagement which took place at well beyond the effective range of a handgun. However, this effort did drive the shooter away from the shopping center and restaurant area, unfortunately toward a Tesla charging station where the shooter engaged more victims in 2 parked Teslas. At that point, the shooter egressed across the parking lot and entered a local visitor center where employees, hearing all of the prior gunfire, had already cleared out the center and concealed visitors in the back rooms or evacuated them out of the facility. A fifth responder, an unarmed employee of the visitor center, actually ran into the shooter and had a conversation with him, which drew the shooter's attention away from a group of hikers that were coming down the walking path toward the shooter. This distraction effort worked, and the hikers scattered before the shooter engaged the employee he was just talking to, though he missed him. The suspect proceeded down the trail before police caught up to him, and he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, ending the incident. So, what is the overall lesson here? Again, I can dig into this deeper if you'd like, but the common theme is one that we see time and time again in the world of mass shootings, or really any kind of crisis like this. Responders can do everything right, and citizens can step up and do what they can to halt the attack, but fatalities still occur. In this case, the police response was literally mere seconds after the first shots were fired, and officers responded with an overmatch of capabilities, as everyone had rifles and not just sidearms. Citizens at every single stage acted in some way, either directly by engaging the shooter or by aiding those wounded. There are certainly a lot of improvements that could have been made, which we can get to in due time, but at the wavetop level, this is what we should expect a proper active shooter response to look like under real-world conditions. It will be chaotic, the fog of war will be thick, and we have to be careful to understand that everyone was acting with the knowledge that they had at the time, not hindsight or what we can see from the cameras. So I myself certainly do not want to criticize anyone's actions on that day. They all did the best that they could with the information they had, and that's all anyone can hope for. In terms of why this shooting occurred in the first place, I have no clue. There has been no motive released by investigating authorities regarding why Chad Williams carried out this attack, and so far there haven't really been any theories circulating either. Maybe this guy's online profile will lead to some clues, but so far I haven't found anything solid that would point to a motive. The randomness of this attack is indicative of maybe some kind of 764 or Order of 9 Angles or 09A, but the suspect is not transgender. He doesn't really have that vibe about him either, nor were the firearms used marked up with the white paint pen as is characteristic of those kinds of attacks. So I honestly don't know why this happened, and I will be staying on top of this to get to the bottom of whatever led to this attack. We don't normally get this much information with mass shootings. We certainly don't get products like this produced by the police department so quickly after the incident. So really do appreciate the transparency on this, especially because we can learn from this moving forward. So this is most certainly motivation to get effective training, both in terms of medical aid and also in terms of firearms training, and also re-examine what you could do to improve your situational awareness and situational overview and understanding of the situation around you when things go sideways. Not easy to do, but I myself find this very, very motivating to get forward and get after it. So that's all I've got for Idaho. Transitioning to the Middle East for this week, no major changes all around. The Iranians and Omanis are still working on their agreement for administrative control of the Strait of Hormuz, and there's really been no solid news on how that's going. The Iranians have continued to strike merchants in the strait about once a day or so, as random vessels keep trying to go through the southern Omani route, and the U.S. Navy is not really able to protect them sufficiently. Speaking of missile defense, the mainstream media outlets have reported this week on the extremely low stockpiles of munitions, which have been dwindling for some time. This is not really new. We've been talking about this for a couple months now, but offensive and defensive munitions are critically low, with ATACMs and prisms being in very low supply, along with TLAMs being almost completely expended. Interceptor missiles such as the PAC-3 and PAC-2 missiles for the Patriot system have been sharply reduced for a long time, and it's not like we can just replace these. These take years to build. The PAC-3 missiles, the more capable and most recent version of the missile for the Patriot system, these are almost completely exhausted since the hot shooting phase of the war back in April. The older PAC-2 missiles are pretty much all we have left, but some reports claim that we're down to double digits of some of these interceptor missiles, though the exact number is obviously not public, so we just have to kind of guess. It's not exactly a wild guess because we know, based on congressional reports, every year the Pentagon has to report how many missiles they have and how many they've bought. So it's not like we're just shooting from the hip here. We do have numbers to work from, and it's not looking good. The Pentagon indirectly confirmed the situation on the dwindling missile stockpile by both denying the low levels of munitions, but also announcing that they are investigating whoever leaked that information to the press. So that's kind of a confirmation in and of itself, because if the information was untrue, no investigation would be needed, because you can only charge somebody with espionage if the information is true. So I guess the Pentagon has kind of forgotten the old practice of we will neither confirm nor deny, right? I guess they've kind of moved out of that sort of mentality. Plus, the Pentagon has been openly stating that their missile stockpiles are running low for months now. So they've actually said this themselves in the various congressional testimony that we have been looking at since the war began. It's not that much of a surprise to see that we are basically out of missiles in the Middle East and have emptied out a lot of bases because some bases simply fired off their last missile that they had weeks ago. Thankfully, the airstrikes between the United States and Iran have largely remained stagnant for a couple of weeks now, which might be brought on by the sheer lack of long-range standoff munitions that are available to carry out even a small bombing campaign. So we're certainly still in the realm of waiting to see how this all works out. The Chinese and the Russians are definitely padding the Iranian missile stockpile, at least in terms of air defense, which is going to make it harder for the United States to use any more of their quote-unquote dumb bombs, right? The more less precision guided munitions that we're going to have to deliver much, much closer. We can't just launch these dumb bombs, so to speak, from thousands of miles away or hundreds of miles away at least. Most of the munitions that we have left, we're going to actually have to put aircraft in Iranian airspace, and if we're going to do that, that's going to be a whole big operation, which is probably why they're not wanting to do it for now. But just give it a few days, or at the most a week or two, and we'll see. We'll re-examine that. We'll see how it works out. It's not looking super great, but at least things are, I guess, decently stable. Do we dare call the situation stable at this moment? I don't know. Not a whole lot has changed this week, but it's still fairly tense all around. Similar story with a specific incident that took place in Germany regarding Ukraine. So let's jump to Europe really quick. A few days ago, a series of drone incursion incidents were reported at the Leipzig-Halle airport in Germany. Several drones were spotted by staff at the airport, which prompted the airport to shut down and effectively enact their drone procedures, which most modern airports have nowadays, and also which involves a search of the airport grounds, which revealed several drones. One drone was sighted hovering just off the ground by a bus driver at the airport who kicked it and knocked it out of the air. After the Chuck Norris-style drone defense, a second drone was also found next to a Ukrainian transport plane in the cargo handling section of the airport. This second drone reportedly had an
About 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
Explosive charge on board, which was rendered safe by the airport explosive ordnance disposal team. But as this incident was unfolding and as the runway was being shut down and they were trying to get everybody, situated, a DHL aircraft was actually on short final approach trying to land. Air traffic control issued an emergency go-around order for that aircraft, and as the DHL aircraft was aborting the landing and they were trying to nose up and climb out of the airport, they hit a third drone, which was actually in the air hovering over the runway. The DHL aircraft diverted to a nearby airport after declaring an emergency, and nobody was harmed on board that aircraft, but it was a pretty close call. So, as one might expect, the theories for who might be behind this attack are extremely biased and also impossible to confirm. The Germans, surprise, surprise, are blaming the Russians for the attack because it looks like they were trying to take out a Ukrainian transport plane on the ground in Germany. The Russians also, not surprisingly, blame the Ukrainians on conducting a false flag attack so as to drum up more support for the war from Germany and to pressure Germany to sell Ukraine more missiles. As it stands, it's honestly not really possible to determine the truth, and the information space is completely saturated with propaganda. It's too hot. We got to wave off for now and just kind of circle back around to this in a few weeks. On the one hand, it would make sense for it to be Russia because Russia has been slowly walking toward a more direct confrontation with NATO due to NATO encouraging and enabling direct attacks on Russia's oil terminals and civilian infrastructure. So it would make sense for Russia to have this kind of tit-for-tat response to this and kind of do a little bit of a sly, old-school Cold War kind of thing. They can't really be directly tied back to them, but we tangentially know that it was probably them. The only problem with this theory is that it doesn't really make sense for this attack to have a 100% failure rate if it was the Russians. The Russians are pretty good at this, and these drones failing doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless that failure itself was intentional and thus a pretty strong message regarding how serious Russia is. You can argue this pretty much any way you want. Of course, Ukraine is also a prime suspect too, and since there are Ukrainian military cargo aircraft at this airport, it would not be that hard for them to carry out an attack on their own planes at this airport. It's anybody's guess as to what the truth actually is. In cases like this, the rhetoric in the media is normally a fairly good indicator of what the truth might be, simply due to the truth usually being the opposite of whatever's reported in the mainstream media for stuff like this. But I don't know. I think we're just going to have to wait and see what the next escalation is and how it plays out over the next few weeks. I wish we could get to a conclusion with that, but unfortunately, we just gotta see what happens, right? So that's all I have for today, and let's go ahead and wrap it up with some of the more interesting GhostNet reports that I have picked up from my own radio here in the Mid-Atlantic region. As you guys know, every week I try to highlight some of the more interesting reports that have gone out over the airwaves on our GhostNet HF or shortwave radio network, and I can usually pick up the reports from the entire East Coast, usually from Florida all the way to Canada, and this week I picked up about 80 people or so transmitting localized information reports from their own neighborhoods. Summertime is always more popular for those getting on the airwaves, and this summer has been really great, and usually anywhere from 50 to 100 other stations are pretty active on any given week, all trying to do their best to keep skills sharp and to make sure that no matter what happens, we will have a lot of capable people at the other end of the radio, ready, willing, and able to keep the flow of information going. It is all of you who keep the net going, and I am happy to carry on this net well into the future. So otherwise, I'm trying to get a lot more educational content finished up soon. You all know these things take so much longer than anyone plans for, but I'm working as hard as I can to really get a lot of frameworks worked out and in place. More to come on that later on.
Okay, that was I thought that was, it's sad, but important, a lot of information on that video for the Wire channel. I'm going to do all shorts till 9 o'clock, so I'm not going to do any more long ones tonight. I got a new one from Trisha that just came out. 5 minutes on Hillary. Hillary's in trouble.
And somehow now she's a political one. So like I said, I mean, Donald Trump, he's dominated those news airwaves. I don't know what some people are going to do, like The View, when he's no longer in office, or this lady. So Hillary Clinton goes on to her podcast because it's real friendly territory. She's super liberal. And Hillary basically said, we need to make sure we purge the entire government of anybody that supported Trump. I'm like, whoa, okay. So this is basically what Obama did, right? Obama had all of his people. That's how it became the deep state. that's how you wound up with things like Oxford, investigation following Crossfire Hurricane, Russia on steroids, Russia squared. Well, Hillary Clinton is now out there saying, not only do we have to win, but we need to purge ourselves of all of these Republicans. This is dangerous rhetoric, all right? She should know better.
Clean up, fix things.
Clean up.
There's going to be so much to fix. I mean, first, get rid of all of the holdovers. Do not let anybody hang around in some small office somewhere who can literally subvert your program, and you don't even know that person's there. And I will predict that, Trump and his minions are going to try to,
put people.
They're going to try to move people from political appointments to so-called civil.
Well, I wonder who's playing that one, you guys. Ew. Ready to throw up.
Service appointments, although they're trying to destroy the civil service. So people are going to have to be really searching to make sure that they are not going to be literally subverted from within the government.
That's a really good point.
Oh, yeah, because, that's what you guys did, didn't you? I mean, what do you think the whole Oxford thing was? They didn't think they had enough with Crossfire Hurricane. They had to double down. So this just came out this week. I reported on it for you on Wednesday. Unbelievable stuff. The White House has now leaked these documents. They went to John Solomon over at Just the News, and I brought them to you here. They've all been declassified by the FBI. So basically, these new secret documents have found that there was a whole separate investigation going on behind the scenes. So they were just like, okay, we may not get where we want to go with Crossfire Hurricane. So because Donald Trump, fired James Comey, because James Comey was a bad dude and quite a loser, and drinking the company Kool-Aid and deep state on steroids. So because they came back with like nothing, they were like, okay, well, let's go do another investigation. This is bad stuff. Okay, so this all came out, and in the documentation, they are basing their entire case on the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. The assessment of reliable information that they received during the course of the investigation. They're saying because they wasn't reliable. I mean, you even had Peter Strzok texting Lisa Page, his girlfriend, I'm being nice, saying there's not a lot of there. I mean, everybody knew there was no there. The FBI agent, Barnett, came out and said there's nothing here. Like, we got nothing. So they had nothing, and so they decided to double down on nothing with your taxpayer dollars and behind the scenes, and then they tried to hide it. These are like the burn bags that they're finding now at FBI headquarters. Burn bags, I mean, they're computer documents, right? So this is all, and they didn't want people to be able to search for this. So if you heard anything about Oxford, you were going to search for OXFORD, Oxford. And they spelled it OXFERD, just to kind of trip you up, especially if there was some kind of FOIA request or anything. I mean, look, they stacked the deck. And then all of a sudden, Donald Trump's back for round 2, and they are freaking out. This is why it was so important to them that he not win, that they were willing to go to any kind of length, because they knew you were going to find out. I mean, Hillary, I guess to her credit, she's willing to just put all the dirty laundry out there, because she's like, oh, we need to make sure we get rid of all of them. Because you could have some lowly person working in some small office somewhere, and they could actually hold things up like you guys did over and over and over and over again. Nonsense. I mean, bad stuff. Anyway, you know what? The markets were higher today, weren't they? Which was good news.
Okay. Update on that. I'm going to play George, because me and Fine Eagle talk about Michigan. That one guy, Fine Eagle, I got a 10-minute clip from George. Actually, it's 15 minutes, guys. 15.
And unearth hidden footage of them speaking their mind, revealing their true intentions. And that's it. It's just that simple. Let their own words haunt them, destroy their careers. One recent example of this is Francesca Wan, the Democratic Socialist of America member running for governor of Wisconsin. Footage of her saying she hates Thanksgiving has not gone down too well in Wisconsin, to the point where the Republican candidate is on the verge of flipping the state, which would be historic, beautiful. Democrats have really dug their own grave there. And now the same is happening in Michigan. Abdul El-Sayed or El-Sayed or whatever his name is now in some big trouble, okay? Because a video has resurfaced of him saying something really damning, really bad, to the point where Elon Musk, the world's first trillionaire, richest guy alive, is getting involved personally, spending millions of dollars to make sure this guy never sees the inside of the Senate, the US Senate, as a senator, which is awesome. Before I give you that story and show you some other major revelations about El-Sayed or whatever, Abdurrahman Mohammed, okay, that's a word salad name. We're going to call him Abdul. Abdul, okay, Abdul, get the rocks. We're going to call him Abdul, like the Taliban guy that's in Trump's story. Abdul is suddenly losing 4 of the last 5 polls conducted in Michigan. Ladies and gentlemen, this is huge.
High-profile Democrats are descending on Michigan after El-Sayed's win, including potential 2028 presidential candidates Gavin Newsom and Pete Buttigieg. Madeline Rivera has more.
Democrats know they need to come together in this crucial Senate race that could determine control of the upper chamber in November. Former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, gubernatorial nominee Jocelyn Benson, and Abdul El-Sayed held a rally last night where they tried to bridge the divisions after a bitter primary.
So he is losing all but one of the latest polls. And, you know, the one he's winning is actually the outlier. So there's a chance that's just a fake poll. He's losing with all the Democrats' strongest voters.
Okay, that must have been old. All right, let's see here. Where are we at? I got to figure out where to go. This one's 3 minutes. That one reporter.
About a cluster of suspected directed energy attacks that are blamed for crippling brain and neurological injuries affecting spies, diplomats, military personnel, and civilians. It's commonly known as Havana syndrome. Through my reporting, I've identified at least 3 incidents beginning in 2020 involving U.S. government personnel in Northern Virginia. In some cases, the individuals were investigating directed energy weapon technology, and at least 1 incident occurred at a U.S. government facility. The CIA and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, that's the nation's top intelligence official, did not respond to my questions about how the risk to U.S. personnel is being addressed. Joining us now is Dr. James Giordano, Professor Emeritus of Neurology at Georgetown University Medical Center. He has also served as a forensic neuroscientist on Havana syndrome cases. Dr. Giordano, let's begin with a simple explanation for people so they can understand how these directed energy attacks impact the individuals and their brains.
Sure, absolutely. Well, if we're looking at directed energy, the issue is that essentially there's 2 types that have been used. One was a form of sonic energy, and the other appears to be a laser-induced microwave, a very rapidly pulsed microwave. In the former situation with the ultrasound, what's essentially happening is the compression and expansion of the ultrasonic wave causes almost a bubbling effect within fluid media within the brain, within the head.
So it's like a concussive effect within the brain.
It is. It's almost as if what's happening is that they're getting some form of decompression sickness. The symptoms are very similar. So what's happening is these are causing bubbling and rippling, which is then disrupting not only the balance organs and hearing organs, but may also then transmit into the brain to cause something like a mini stroke.
So let me take that a step further. With the initial assault, is that where the injury and the damage ends, or is it progressive?
It is progressive. As we've mentioned, there are 2 types, the second type being microwaves, and the microwaves really will disrupt the network effects of the brain. Think, if you will, of Putting something like a cell phone very briefly into a microwave for a second. It may seem that it's working the same, but it will never actually be the same. And in fact, its function may decrement with time. This is the same thing we're seeing with these patients. There'll be an initial set of effects that tend to worsen as various aspects of the brain and nervous system become far more disrupted, deteriorated over time.
I want to talk to you about some new reporting. I've been able to identify at least 3 incidents in the Northern Virginia area in the last 5 years. I think there are in fact more, where the individuals report an initial attack with a directed energy weapon, and then there's a pause, and then there's sort of a staccato of attacks, sort of a rapid pace of attacks that follow. What does that tell you about the nature of these weapons and the damage that's being done?
Well, this seems to be more of the microwave type or something along the electromagnetic frequency where the first attack is called a priming attack. It may get ranging, it may get certain characteristics to be able to affect the individual. And then what you get is secondary attacks, or what are sometimes called sequence or finishing attacks. And what that may then incur is an amplification of the initial effect. So what you're sort of doing is you're stirring the pot, and then you're really letting it boil.
Tonight, I can share new and exclusive reporting about a cluster of suspected directed energy attacks that are blamed for crippling brain and neurological injuries affecting spies, diplomats, military personnel, and civilians. It's commonly known as Havana syndrome. Through my reporting, I've identified at least 3 incidents beginning in 2020 involving U.S. government personnel in Northern Virginia. In some cases, the individuals were investigating directed energy weapon technology, and at least 1 incident occurred at a U.S. government facility. The CIA and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, that's the nation's top intelligence official, did not respond to my questions about how the risk to U.S. personnel is being addressed. Joining us now is Dr. James Giordano, Professor Emeritus of Neurology at Georgetown University Medical Center. He has also served as a forensic neuroscientist on Havana syndrome cases. Dr. Giordano, let's begin with a simple explanation for people so they can understand how these directed energy attacks impact the individuals and their brains.
Sure, absolutely. Well, if we're looking at directed energy, the issue is that essentially there's 2 types that have been used. One was a form of sonic energy, and the other appears to be a laser-induced microwave, a very rapidly pulsed microwave. In the former situation with the ultrasound, what's essentially happening is the compression and expansion of the ultrasonic wave causes almost a bubbling effect within fluid media within the brain, within the head.
So it's like a concussive effect within the brain.
It is. It's almost as if what's happening is that they're getting some form of decompression sickness. The symptoms are very similar. So what's happening is these are causing bubbling and rippling, which is then disrupting not only the balance organs and hearing organs, but may also then transmit into the brain to cause something like a mini stroke.
So let me take that a step further. With the initial assault, is that where the injury and the damage ends, or is it progressive?
It is progressive. As we mentioned, there are 2 types, the second type being microwaves, and the microwaves really will disrupt the network effects of the brain. Think, if you will, of putting something like a cell phone very briefly into a microwave for a second. It may seem that it's working the same, but it will never actually be the same. And in fact, its function may decrement with time.
This is the
same thing we're seeing with these
video,
patients. There'll be an initial set of effects that tend to worsen as various aspects of the brain and nervous system become far more disrupted, deteriorated over time.
I want to talk to you about some new reporting. I've been able to identify at least 3 incidents in the Northern Virginia area in the last 5 years. I think there are in fact more, where the individuals report an initial attack with a directed energy weapon, and then there's a pause, and then there's sort of a staccato of attacks, sort of a rapid pace of attacks that follow. What does that tell you about the nature of these weapons and the damage that's being done?
Well, this seems to be more of the microwave type or something along the electromagnetic frequency where the first attack is called a priming attack. It may get ranging, it may get certain characteristics to be able to affect the individual. And then what you get is secondary attacks, or what are sometimes called sequence or finishing attacks. And what that may then incur is an amplification of the initial effect. So what you're sort of doing is you're stirring the pot, and then you're really letting it boil.
Tonight, I can share new and exclusive reporting about a cluster of suspected.
Okay, that was an important one. Back to the short clips.
for purposes of basketball, professional basketball. So I'll be declaring for the WNBA draft in 2027 as well. I mean, I think I'd be unstoppable, you know. But I'm a team first guy, you know. I'm a pass first kind of player. I do the little things, you know. I led my team in all 5 major stat categories at Iowa State University. So I do a little bit of everything. I'll do whatever the coach needs me to do. I'll do whatever the girls need me to do. I think the WNBA could come out and make a definitive statement about guys with a pair of balls playing in the women's association. But you know, hey, that'd be probably too much like right. So, and I don't want to be discriminated against. No, I want fair treatment. I'm a black, I'm a young black, hopefully United States senator that would like a fair chance to participate.
That was stupid. I can't believe that. All right, finally go hear something for you. You just showed me. I got a photo here or a video.
Cincinnati, Ohio, USA.
4 minutes.
8:46 p.m. Eastern time, so it's sunset per Google, which won't even say it anymore. Google's like, these one guys will say it. So there's this light ray that goes all the way from the west, all the way across the sky to the east. So flat Earth, boom, you know, whatever. How can that happen on a globe? Well, it's curved. No, it's really not. And then we've got this in the due north. I mean, can you say huge something?
It's okay?
There's a light source. Where else? Right there, dumbass. I don't care, man. All of this is fake. The whole sky, the blue of the sky. I don't know how long we all been living in Disneyland, but something is wrong. And go ahead with all this heat. It's from the simulator, I'm pretty sure. It could turn it off in a heartbeat. This is being. Look at that light ray. It just goes all the way over into the east. I mean, what is going on down there? You know, what's that one object just floating there? You know, or the wishbone. All culminating in a big slice of the sky. And nobody will notice a thing in the east. And it's just kind of slowly going from east into, you know, southeast, and then this over here. As it is getting kind of lighter blue in an eggshell puke kind of way. Teal. If I never see the color teal again, I have nightmares about this fake. Look at it, it's sunset. Whatever that thing is. What is that? It's like a bow wave or something, or what are those two things, man? There's a structure to that. What is that? I don't know. Two little cambots sitting on a cloud. While Seven's talking about the sky really loud. Here comes the red one, then comes yellow. You know Seven, he's a tenacious fella. What is that? Why is there a red ball? What? I've seen all that before. I just don't know where. Probably on the History Channel or Discovery Channel or Ancient UFOs, something. I don't know. Look at that. That's weird. And they're just masking it out with the fake blue. A red ball. And the winged funniness over to the right. One's red and one's yellow. I just can't quite get over that thing. What is that? Why is the light wrapping in a way that... I mean, the light's just doing the funniest thing. Bye, red ball. I don't know what... How. It's the cap, yeah. Hi, everybody. It's 7. It's the 7th of August, 2000.
Okay, that was something out of the sky. Watch the skies. All right. California lady.
Flock security cameras and why Gavin Newsom actually vetoed a similar bill a few years ago. There has been a lot of talk about flock cameras, right? These are the cameras that are set up and will read license plates and many other things, right? It will even zoom in on people's phones when they're walking down the street. So the new bill that has been introduced in the California Assembly generally limits the use of that data for 30 days, okay? That's the amount of time agencies would be able to keep license plate data unless it pertains to an active investigation or it's part of a search for missing people, okay? This bill also sets limits around who can access that data, and it adds training and search tracking requirements. But police unions are really against this. At least 39 police agencies and officers' unions have opposed Senate Bill 1013. Police have actually said that the technology has proven really valuable in helping them solve crimes. Tustin Police Chief said that the technology actually helped clear an innocent man when a woman was murdered last year in Orange County. That woman had already testified saying that her ex-husband was basically trying to kill her, and then she was killed. There was actually 102 city license plate readers, 8 of which were from Flock, and detectives were quickly able to rule out her ex-husband. They were then able to apprehend her former boyfriend at the Mexican border. He's now charged with first-degree murder. Had they not had those cameras, her ex-husband might be in jail right now, or at least that's what the cops say. The Berkeley Police Department also had similar successes. There are now 52 Flock cameras that are installed in Berkeley. They've contributed to 58 arrests and led to the recovery of 37 stolen vehicles. So California already has a law on the books stating that you can't share data with federal authorities and others outside of the state. However, officers in California have been sharing that Flock license plate data and sharing it inappropriately. And there have been cases where it's been used to stalk people or harass innocent people. Just last year, there was a cop in Texas that searched a national license plate database in an attempt to try and find a woman who had had an abortion, right? Leading to fears that conservative states that have criminalized abortion would use California state license plate data to hunt patients down and then incarcerate them. When Gavin Newsom vetoed this back in 2019, he said that the restriction could actually hinder police officers' ability to solve cold cases and to find missing people. Now, of course, there are stipulations in the new bill that would allow police departments to hold on to that information if it's for a missing person's case and if it's still active. Hopefully now it's going to get passed because they've updated the law to address Gavin Newsom's concerns. However, if we make lots of noise, he probably would. And just so you know, every Democrat in the state assembly has supported it. Only Republicans are now voting against it. Let's talk.
Okay, the California lady there, reporter.
Trump. Here's the chilling video of Thomas Crook sprinting across the roof with an AR-15 while President Trump was giving a speech down below. It's one of those days where we all remember exactly where we were when we heard the news. And little did we know, that was attempt number 1. There was also Austin Tucker Martin, who snuck into Mar-a-Lago with a gun and a gas can. His grand plan, torch the entire resort and kill the president. When ordered to stand down, he actually raised the shotgun at law enforcement. Bad idea for him. Secret Service agents and a local deputy dropped him on the spot, turning what could have been a massive tragedy into a swift, lethal lesson in swift justice. And don't forget Ryan Ruth, the guy who decided to camp out in the bushes while Trump was golfing. Thankfully, a sharp-eyed Secret Service agent spotted a rifle barrel poking out of the greenery, popped off a few rounds, and sent Ruth scrambling before he was dragged off the highway. Then we found an actual hunting stand strapped to a tree in Palm Beach, giving someone a clear sniper shot straight at Air Force One. Then there was the guy casually opening fire right in front of the White House entrance. That happened just the other day. The FBI had to step in and crush a massive plot targeting the White House Freedom 250 event. Oh, and let's throw in 2 separate Iranian assassination plots for good measure. Am I forgetting any? At this point, the Secret Service detail needs a combat medic and an air traffic controller just to get through a Tuesday. Now, we even have mysterious drones tailing Trump's motorcade and hovering over cabinet members like creepy, buzzing paparazzi. Agents are literally blasting them out of the sky. Is it the deep state, foreign operatives, or just a guy down the street with a remote control and way too much free time? We don't know. And because of these nonstop security nightmares, President Trump announced in July that he's ordering 250 heavy-duty Cadillac Escalades to beef up the Secret Service fleet. And these aren't your average soccer mom SUVs. They are rolling fortresses. Take a look for yourself. A few of these were just seen on the streets in Washington, D.C. They're retrofitted with roof-mounted signal jammers, drone defense capabilities, and enough military-grade tech to survive a small tactical strike. It used to be just the president and the vice president getting rides like this. Well, guess what? In Trump's administration, it's now his cabinet, too. In fact, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was seen in one of these beasts just this week, and he said we'll be hearing more about them in the weeks to come. But think about where we are in America right now. If you're a conservative and in an administration, taking a job in public service basically requires the security detail of a NATO convoy just to survive your shift. And yesterday was a stark reminder of why these precautions are so desperately needed. President Trump landed back in California, which means 2 things. Gavin Newsom is having an absolute meltdown, and the Secret Service is on code red alert. Sure enough, over at Trump's golf course in Rancho Palos Verdes, things got weird.
Okay, got one more with her. I got 3 with her. I'll come back with the second one.
They planned Armageddon with no cure, and it is instigated by aliens. Just watch.
Are you familiar with the hantavirus, Agent Mulder?
Yeah, it was a deadly virus spread by field mice in the southwestern United States several years ago.
According to the newspaper, FEMA was called out to manage an outbreak of the hantavirus. Are you familiar with what the Federal Emergency Management Agency's real power is? FEMA allows the White House to suspend constitutional government upon declaration of a national emergency. Think about that. What is an agency with such broad sweeping power doing managing a small viral outbreak in suburban Texas?
You're saying it wasn't such a small outbreak?
No. I'm saying it wasn't the hantavirus.
Well, what was it? What was it?
When we were young men in the military, your father and I were recruited for a project. They told us it was biological warfare or a virus.
What killed those men?
What killed them, I won't even write about. We have no context for what killed those men, or any appreciation of the scale at which it'll be unleashed in the future.
A plague?
The plague to end all plagues, Agent Mulder. A silent weapon for a quiet war. The systematic release of an indiscriminate organism for which the men who will bring it on still have no cure. They've been working on this for 50 years. While the world have been fighting crooks and commies, these men have been secretly negotiating a planned Armageddon.
Negotiating with whom?
I think you know. The timetable has been set. It'll happen on a holiday when people are away from their homes. The president will declare a state of emergency, at which time all government, all federal agencies will come under the power of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, the secret government.
My guess would be July.
Okay, that was a interesting one there. I got this one cat lady tonight. She hasn't been out yet tonight.
anymore without getting a community violation. I can't even post a video of me feeding the cats and pick the song from the TikTok song place.
Play this one.
And then they come back and say, I used unauthorized music. So they mute my videos. They are taking everything down. And now they're on to my second account. So I can't do this anymore. I mean, why spend this time trying to tell you something that's happening? And the people that are doing what I'm telling you about, their videos allowed to stay up and get 10 to 20, 30,000 views and likes, and mine gets them, it's knocked down within 60 seconds. So here's the deal. This account goes from 18.8 thousand to 18.9 thousand for the last month. Every day it's different. They're screwing my account. I have the same exact name for my second account. Crazy Cat Lady Lately. The LATEL, there's no Y on the end of it. It's the same profile picture. It's my Lucy. If you guys still want to see me rescuing cats, if you still want to hear my opinion about something, you have to move over there. I don't know where these 18.9 thousand people are. I don't have that many. I've only got like 200 of y'all that act, every now and then engage. Please, I'm asking you. I'm going to put the @ sign on this video. There's going to be an @ sign. It's either going to be here or here. It's going to be @ because I'm going to tag the other account. Please move over there because I'm going to delete this account here soon. Okay, I can't take it anymore, and I want to get off of it, go to X. But if enough people will move over to my other account, I'll stay on that other account. I'm acting like I'm all that. Okay, I'm not. I'm just saying. I know y'all enjoy the cat videos. I know you want to know what's going on with Caesar. Please move to the second account, please. And the other account, Mike and Irma Joe, that's nothing but Michael Myers stuff. We're going to stick with enough of that. If you want to see something funny, please go over to.
Okay, I got a 9-minute one. Canada and U.S. Oh.
It held the advantage. Trump's border directive remained in force. Enhanced inspections were still grinding Canadian trucks to a halt. Temporary work visas for Canadian nationals stayed frozen. Energy shipments sat idle at the border, each one waiting for individual presidential approval that was, honestly, never going to arrive. The administration expected panic in Ottawa. They expected phone calls. They expected Canadian business leaders to force Mark Carney to the table. Then Carney walked into the room. 47 minutes after the latest American threat became public, Carney stood before the cameras in Ottawa with no notes and no teleprompter. He held a single sheet of paper containing 4 numbers. He looked directly into the lens and delivered one sentence that landed like a hammer across North America. Canada will not beg. Canada will not negotiate under blockade. And Canada will not let American factories hold our economy hostage. Before we go further into what happened next, if you value this kind of unfiltered analysis, hit the subscribe button and like this video so you never miss the next development. Now back to the story. Carney then outlined 4 countermeasures, each more damaging than the last. First, effective at midnight, every American company supplying the Canadian federal government, the provinces, or any Crown corporation faces an immediate 30-day termination review. Where a Canadian, European, or Japanese alternative exists, the American contract is cancelled. The estimated annual value exceeds $31 billion. That money is leaving the United States and will not return under the current conditions. Second, the Trans-Mountain expansion and coastal gas link infrastructure that Washington assumed were still years from completion are already moving Canadian crude and natural gas to Asian markets at volumes the White House never modeled. 43% of the oil previously destined for the United States has already been rerouted. These pipelines were finished months ago, quietly, deliberately, in anticipation of exactly this moment. Third, Canada is invoking the national security exemption inside the USMCA itself. Not a soft interpretation, the strongest available version. Every tariff Trump imposed on Canadian steel, aluminum, lumber, and automobiles over the past 8 months is now treated as legally void in Canadian courts. and in the dispute settlement panels. Legal experts in Washington are already describing the clause as airtight. Fourth, and this is the measure that honestly silenced the Situation Room, Carney announced that Canada has formally invited the European Union, the United Kingdom, Japan, and Australia into a new Northern Security Compact. Intelligence sharing, joint defense procurement, and coordinated energy planning will all function independently of American channels if necessary. He stated clearly that if the United States suspends the traditional security relationship, Canada will not remain unprotected. It will build new alliances with partners that understand mutual respect is not the same as subordination. He closed with a line delivered almost quietly. Partnership is not subordination. The United States just taught us that lesson. We will not forget it. The House of Commons did not merely applaud. Opposition leaders rose to their feet. Provincial premiers issued joint statements within the hour. Even politicians who had criticized Carney only days earlier were, well, forced to stand and clap. In Washington, the panic is no longer contained. American auto executives are in open crisis. One Detroit chief executive told a closed-door meeting that every vehicle assembled in Michigan, Ohio, and Tennessee crosses the Canadian border an average of 7 times during production. Interrupt that flow and the plants do not slow down. They stop completely. Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis all depend on Canadian components that cannot be replaced overnight. Assembly lines that once ran around the clock are already preparing contingency shutdown schedules. Hospital systems in Buffalo, Detroit, and Seattle are reporting critical shortages. Canadian nurses and physicians who cross the border daily are now barred. Emergency rooms are diverting patients. Administrators are warning of cascading failures in trauma and intensive care capacity within days if the visa suspension remains in place. Gulf Coast refiners face an even more immediate technical problem. Their facilities are configured specifically for heavy Canadian crude. They cannot simply switch to Saudi or other lighter grades without significant retooling. Some refiners are already drafting plans for partial or full shutdowns because the chemistry does not allow an overnight substitution. Disrupting Canadian energy does not merely inconvenience Canada, it threatens to idle American refining capacity. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce has called the original border directive the single most self-destructive trade action of the modern era. The National Association of Manufacturers places the direct risk at more than 2.3 million American jobs tied to Canadian supply chains. These are not Canadian lobbyists speaking. These are American business leaders telling their own president that the weapon he aimed at Ottawa is pointed squarely at the American economy. International reaction has only deepened the isolation. The European Commission publicly affirmed Canada's right to defend itself against economic coercion. London, Tokyo, and Canberra issued coordinated statements that left no ambiguity about where they stand. Mexico quietly informed Washington that continental supply chains cannot survive repeated unilateral pressure of this intensity. Canada is not standing alone. The United States is discovering that it is. Trump now confronts the same 3 options he faced 2 hours ago, only the costs have risen sharply. He can enforce the directive and watch American factories, hospitals, and refineries seize up within 2 weeks. He can quietly rescind the measures and appear to have blinked first after Carney's very public humiliation. Or he can escalate further against a G7 and NATO ally whose economy is so deeply intertwined with America's that every additional blow lands on both sides of the border. Carney has already drawn a hard line. Any negotiation requires the full and public rescission of the border measures first. No partial walkbacks, no face-saving language, complete reversal, or no conversation at all. 2 hours ago, the White House believed it was applying decisive pressure. 2 hours later, it is the White House under pressure. Trump wanted Canada to fold. Instead, he encountered a government that had already constructed the exits, signed the alternative contracts, and prepared the legal instruments long before the first truck was stopped at the border. Mark Carney is no longer reacting to Trump's moves. He is forcing Trump to react to his. And for the first time in a very long time, Washington appears to have no clean answer. If this story opened your eyes, smash.
Okay, that was a good important one, I thought. And we got a new cat lady. She must have heard me, okay, Lucy. She got a 4-minute one. And then I got a one telling you about that arrest in New York City. I'm gonna play. I don't know if I'll play the whole thing. Four minutes.
It's been 6 years since I have been by myself, and this month has been tough. It's not the month, but it's a month that reminds me that years ago, literally almost 10 years ago, I put up with something while dating with somebody that was absolutely horrific. And I was at a very bad point in my life when I met this person. My father had passed away. I was struggling with a lot of guilt. I felt like I needed to be punished. I went out and I found somebody just like my parents, and I just put up with it. It was absolutely horrific. I can't even describe to you the amount of emotional abuse, being cheated on, the drinking. It was, and just the cut downs and the put downs, and you can't do anything right. You know, getting up in the morning and literally worshiping somebody and making their lunch, and then they're telling you that you didn't cut their salad in small enough pieces, so it hit the size of their mouth when they ate it, and then you're carrying on a business. You end up basically almost losing your business because of so much drama, everything going on. And then it gets to the point where the mental escalates into physical, and being pushed against walls and pulled off beds, just things like that. And I don't know if you've seen pictures of me 10 years ago. I'm not somebody you would think that would put up with that. And I want to be honest with you, you know, I look back and I was a pretty girl 10 years ago. I mean, I've got Mardi Gras ball pictures where I went to the gym 5 days a week. I was really, you know, I think I had my shit together. And I let somebody who literally looked like Lurch just break me in half. And so the reason I'm telling you this is because this is the anniversary month of the first horrific incident that we had. And I stayed with him after that and married him after that. If you're out there and you are going through something like this, and you're with a man who disrespects you, treats you bad, cheats on you, makes you feel like you're nothing, you spend a lot of time crying, you spend a lot of time anxious and depressed and thinking you can't make it, because they broke you down so far that you feel like if you leave, you're not going to be able to make it, and there's something so stupid about staying with this person and nobody understands it. But you just keep trying, you keep trying, because you do start feeling like you can make this work, okay? Let me tell you something. Y'all look at my life now, and I'm exhausted, and I cry, and I get on here and I tell you guys how tired I am. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm wore out. I take on a lot of animals. But let me tell you the difference. When I go to bed at night, and if I'm crying, it's because of my own doings. It's because I'm crying because I'm heartbroken over something that I couldn't help. It's because I'm crying because I'm overwhelmed with things that I've tried to help. I'm not crying in that bed because the person that's sleeping beside me is sleeping with somebody else. Or the person that's sleeping beside me has made me feel like such a lowlife that I can't make it. And that is a wonderful feeling. Let me tell you something. I'll take this kind of crying that I'm doing right now over that kind of crying. Now, I've been quiet for 6 years. This will be the last video that I make about it, and the one today. I won't make another video about it, because let me tell you something. I got my shit together. I watched The Secret, and that year I grossed 3 times what I had ever grossed in my life, because I made a fucking promise to myself that nobody would ever do me like that again. And you can do it too. If you're living in a situation where you feel there is no hope, you have no family, you have no friends, you have nobody, let me tell you something. You reach out to me. There is hope. You do not have to put up with the shit. Life is too short. Do you hear me? You could pass away tomorrow. Life is too short. And fuck you twice, TikTok, because I know you're going to violate this fucking video. Hey guys, so I'm going to make a very vulnerable.
Wow. That was really important one there that she did, all you guys. Very important. I want to finish off with Vinny, you guys. 10 minutes. I changed it. We'll finish off with Vinny.
Me to be investigated because they say it doesn't pass the smell test. You're not allowed to naturalize communists. Those are still the laws in America. Right. Would you be calling for an investigation into his background? Like,
I think there should be also an investigation of his favorable statements about organizations that have participated in the favorable killing of the massive killing of Americans. Requires an investigation. How far does that go? I mean, I can't imagine. I'd also like the answer. Does he have a security clearance? I don't think de Blasio did. Now, I did when I was mayor, and Bloomberg did. And when I was U.S. attorney, I helped to get the mayors their security clearance. And I had to help the FBI constantly renew them. We don't just give mayors very sensitive information if they're jerk-offs, right?
Of course.
The election doesn't say that we have to give away secrets of the United States to the people that are elected in a local government. Remember, that's why we have this separation of government. Federal government can make its own judgment about that, separate from the state government. And it does. There are mayors in this country that do not know about the terrorists. What the FBI does is find a police organization that you can trust. So when de Blasio was mayor, they had Bill Bratton, who you could trust. Right now, I would imagine it's the police commissioner who is very trustworthy, who has the clearance. But I think first of all, I think he is being investigated, not necessarily criminally, but from a foreign intelligence point of view, I would be shocked if we're not all over him to see who he's communicating with. Of course, he gives the impression of somebody who could be doing things that jeopardize our country.
It's very interesting because he had to get a meeting with Iran shut down by the State Department. It's like crazy. And then he had to, get told multiple times you're not allowed to arrest world leaders. Whatever you think of Bibi Netanyahu or any other world leader, you're not allowed. You're a mayor. You're not allowed to go arrest world leaders. You're not a dictator.
That would have been illegal. It would have been
Right.
illegal. It would have been an illegal arrest, and he could have been arrested for it, and he could have been sued for it. The International Court of Justice has no jurisdiction. It would be as if Putin issued an arrest warrant for me or you, and or Xi Jinping or the Ayatollah. It has no authority. It's a false arrest. That's what he was recommending the crime of false arrest for the Prime Minister of Israel. And spending his time with people who were involved in the 1993 murder of New Yorkers for the cause of Islam. The guy he describes as the most powerful imam in New York, co-conspirator in the 1993 bombing, and much more than a co-conspirator, evidence about his involvement in helping to hide the blind sheikh who did it. He promotes this guy as the most prominent voice in the Islamic community. And if you consider, and I know that people, when they hear me or any of us, when we talk about the bad part of the Muslim, they don't talk about the good part of the Muslim. There are a lot of very, very good Muslims. There are a lot of Muslims that want to be led in the right direction. There are a lot of Muslims who are going in the right direction. But then when you start electing the ones that are going in the wrong direction, you throw everything off. The marginal people in the Muslim community move in that direction. And the rest of the country starts to define the whole community that way. And so the Mandamis, the guy up for election tonight, everybody better stay up late tonight to see if we aren't sending another communist Islamic terrorist-loving guy to the Senate, Sayad.
Yes.
I can't believe this. The things that he says, and he has a liberal Democrat running against him. I mean, I wouldn't vote for her because she's too liberal. In that election, I'd vote for her to save my life.
Only available in Michigan because under the Bush administration, Dearborn didn't used to be like that. Dearborn was where we built tanks during World War II, but because they have allowed,
We used to make cars there.
Yes,
more than any place in the world. I represented Ford Motor Company, and I lived there on and off for 3 years. I remember we're car workers.
Yes. So something horribly has gone wrong, and that's exactly how we get to this place. And I
Beautiful
guess
city, by the way. It was. I love Dearborn. I love my time there.
Nobody's explained it. No, certainly nobody has apologized for it. But yeah, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me one little bit if he's under investigation for his foreign ties, because he's behaving like a foreign leader in our country. He's behaving like
I have no inside information. I know the people involved this time. I didn't last time. I know their integrity, and I know their love of this country and their responsibilities. After all, I had them for 17 years. If I were in any of those positions, AG, head of the FBI, there's no way these people weren't being investigated. And if you said it was political, I'd just tell you to go to hell. I mean, you're political. You're trying to interfere with my ability to protect not only the people of my country, but my country. You want to take my country away from me and my children. Even the idea that they want to do away with the Senate, the Supreme Court, they want to substitute a government based on their idiotic wisdom as opposed to the founding fathers. They've come up with a better form of government than the longest standing representative democracy in the history of the world has. That has become the dominant country in the world, not just from power, but from decisions we have the biggest poll in the world that tells us we're the best country. It's the people coming over the border. And we're going to make major changes in that? Of course we're going to fix it. Of course we're going to improve it. Of course we keep learning, slavery was wrong. Jim Crow was wrong. Democrats were wrong about that. They're the ones who proposed it. We Republicans died to save them. All the deaths in the Civil War, aside from some very brave black people, are mostly white and mostly Republican. The party that supported the war, keeping the black slaves, were Democrats, and then they kept them inferior for 100 years. So I don't understand this, except we have distorted history. We've turned it around. We've taken the greatest country on earth and made him the bad guy. That's a hell of a thing to have done.
I pray the American people will reject it. I guess I just have to pray because
I do too.
God's got to have our back in all this. But we're thankful that we have your back, Rudy, and we hope that your back's feeling. We hope your back's feeling better after that little car accident, and we are thankful to see you back in action and energetic. And obviously, you should follow Rudy Giuliani. And here's his X account. He got 2 million subscribers right here for the Rudy Giuliani Show, obviously as well. And America's mayor, always a.
Okay, that's gonna wrap things up for tonight. Okay, well, the 8/8 date, the date, I don't know. We gotta keep staying positive. Tomorrow, one show, I'm not sure what time. 3, 4, 5, somewhere around there. Sometime after 3 o'clock. Everybody have a good rest of the weekend. And thanks much. Morning, okay, Lucy. Carol was at church outing. Carol was at a bonfire tonight, so having fun tonight. But Yep. So we'll just back to normal, one show tomorrow, and then Monday we'll be at 3 o'clock again. All right, God bless. Remember, please hit the like. Stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith. Never give up. Signing off for Saturday 8-8 number. And Chico Dude and our new family member, Dalla, and little Ariella. I think the race was, they were off last week, so I think they're on tomorrow, I think. I didn't see the lineup, Dave. All right, guys, we'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good one.